as we've gone through and scaled up these teams in different markets, we've started to realize that one of the mistakes that we made early on is we were looking wherever the opportunity might present itself, right? And trying to understand different markets, different submarkets, where this line is at, that line is at, it just gets to be too difficult. And the idea of breaking things down to the square foot calculation is incredibly key when you are looking at comps and opportunities and whatnot. No matter if you're looking to acquire that property yourself or you're looking to invest into that property as an LP, a limited partner, what have you. Finding people who have had the success that you're looking for, or have the success that you're looking for.
Welcome to the Global Investor Podcast, a show that focuses on helping foreign investors enter the lucrative U.S. real estate market. Host Charles Carillo combines decades of real estate investing experience with a professional background in international banking to interview experts in all areas of U.S. real estate investing. Now, here's your host, Charles Carillo.
Welcome to another episode of the Global Investors Podcast. I'm your host, Charles Carillo. Today we have Matt Shields. He's an electrician, a serial entrepreneur, and a multifamily real estate investor, having owned and operated a portfolio of 700 apartments in 3 states. So thank you so much for coming on the show today, Matt.
Charles, thanks for having me. Should be fun.
Yeah. You have a very interesting background. So if you don't mind, before we get into the nuts and bolts of your real estate business and other businesses, can you let us know kind of a little bit about your personal and professional background prior to getting involved with your current real estate investing business?
Yeah, I would say that I've been involved in real estate pretty well most of my life. I actually started putting roofs on houses when I was about 10 years old or so. My family was always very hands-on. When people needed things, we would jump in and help, right? So started really, really early. By the time I was 16, pretty well knew how to do everything in the home. I actually bought my first house when I was 19. I flipped it. And then out of high school, I didn't go to college. I joined an electrical contracting company as an apprentice. And basically, as soon as I had enough time in the industry, I started my own electrical contracting company. And we would buy houses and fix them up, flip them, rent them out, what have you, when the contracting company was slow. And so that was going well until 2008. And then we had a number of companies that owed us money that went out of business, which then in turn put that contracting company out of business. And fortunately, in 2008 was when the App Store came out. So we had some programming background, through some things with the contracting company, which is kind of a story in itself. But we decided, let's give this App Store thing a shot in creating apps. So that slowly turned into our technology company, which we are today a digital transformation company. So we help people digitize their processes, what have you. That started doing well in 2017. So got involved in larger real estate now and started going after the multifamily opportunity. So now we're vertically integrated. We have our own property management company, own construction company, which, obviously we work and manage on all of the various different assets that we have. So in a nutshell, that's my background.
Yeah, that's quite the background there. So when you were starting, I mean, obviously you're around real estate, you were, you're in roofing, you're helping out the contractor, you become an electrician. When did you make the decision that real estate investing, you want to be on the other side, so to speak, of the hammer and become owning?
So I will, when I was early on in my electrical contracting career, I was actually my apprenticeship career. I realized that I wanted to own my own company. I wanted to own my own business. Right. I was standing on the very top of a ladder in a bathroom in a commercial space, and I was reaching up, stuffing wires into a junction box, and all of a sudden the thing blew up in my face. So fortunately, I remember it literally took me like 10 seconds or so to realize that I'm okay. I didn't fall off the ladder or anything like that. But my hands were all charred and, and black, no burns or anything. But it was at that point I realized I wanted to be involved more again on the business side of things. So I knew that I wanted to get out of actually doing the work myself. And what I found, so I started the contracting company and we started getting involved in the houses and all of that. The problem with smaller real estate is that the scale isn't there. So you essentially, in order to make it work, you have to kind of have a situation like I had where, you maybe had a company and this was, kind of a side thing, or you're going to be the one who's there still swinging the hammer and still, showing tenants and, fixing things and all of that. So the second time around when I, started doing this after the technology company, I knew that I wanted to go larger so that we could hire a team, hire a staff to be able to manage all that day-to-day stuff and not have to deal with it. So it's all, kind of an evolution of realization. Everybody thinks I want to invest in real estate and I want to do all these houses. It's incredibly difficult to be able to, manage all of that on your own. So scaling out is really where, my mindset was when I started that again.
Yeah, I wasn't from the beginning. I didn't really see it when I was buying small. I started with small 3-family properties, and yeah, it is very difficult to scale, and it's very difficult to, no matter how good of a deal you get. I mean, it's difficult to cash flow in small properties consistently. Unless you have no debt whatsoever, or you're in there, actively managing it, or like you said, doing work. I mean, that's really how it happens. And in the town that I was buying property in Connecticut, where I'm from, and when I would see the other larger landlords, that's really how they had it, because we had a lot of the Northeast. We had tons of 3-family properties, and they would be doing flips over here with their contracting business. And then, hey, something had to get fixed, and they'd drop off some of their guys over at one of their 3-family properties or 6-family, whatever it was, or small multifamilies to do it. And I saw that as really the most effective way of being able to, have the crew, because that makes your management so much easier. But also, you have to do that unless you have the scale, like you said, in going to a large apartment building.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So
exactly.
When I was looking on for your firm, kind of going into this, is that I saw that you guys have a range of different apartment buildings. I'm not sure if there are previous sales that you already went through, deals you did, but kind of ranging from 12 all the way up to almost 300 units. So I know you're vertically integrated now and you're managing everything in house. Has your strategy or criteria changed over the years?
It definitely has. Yeah. And this is, again, all about scaling. So we joined a group called Jake and Gino when we started this. I'm not sure if your listeners have heard of them, but we knew that we wanted to, and I'm saying we because I met my partner actually at Jake and Gino. When we partnered up, we knew that we wanted to be able to find this knowledge from other people. So this is, again, all part of the evolution. In moving through this. So we acquired some smaller properties at first, and we actually we acquired a 55 unit and a 12 unit basically at the same time.
Okay.
Right. And didn't really realize the whole scale thing just quite yet. The 12 unit seemed like a good deal, so we jumped into it. We were using third-party property management at the 55 unit, and they just weren't really doing that great of a job. We felt like we could do better, so we jumped in and kind of cut our teeth on that type of an asset. And I would say, and I've talked to quite a few people about this, that's really borderline whether or not that would work or not. Again, that's maybe not even enough of a scale to be able to bring in, having a team running it through a property management company. We were still doing quite a bit of the management, but we did have, some team members there locally. So, that's kind of where we started at. And then, through evolution, we started, getting bigger and larger, bigger properties. And I'm not sure if you're referring to some of our assets. We do also have some portfolios where, they were all located within a certain range, and we picked up 6 buildings at one time. Yeah. So altogether, that was about 300 units, between those 6 different buildings. So it's all about growing. It's all about scaling and, moving to the next step as you progress.
Yeah, that's interesting about that, the deal you're talking about, because our first syndication deal years back was a 59 unit, and we found ourselves right in that predicament of full-time lease. It wasn't, you know what I mean? It was expensive. It wasn't the full scale, right? It's really, 80, 100 units when you really start seeing that, where you can put the full-time leasing person in there, admin, whatever you want to call, and then a handyman in there or maybe 1.5. And that's where you can really start seeing that. But it's difficult with the smaller properties.
Yep.
But yeah, it was also too, it was a 32 unit and then 27 units around it. Like you were saying, in a portfolio deal, threes units and quads and a triplex. So there's all different types of ways of doing it and skinning it. It just makes it a little bit more difficult, but it makes it a little easier to sell that too, because you're selling it as a whole package, higher number, and get a little higher value because someone's going to come in there instead of buying one by one, they'll pay more for having the whole package.
Exactly.
So
yep.
It's kind of, I mean, there's a lot of mortgages. It's a lot of work that you're doing it, but it's a great way of making returns for your investors.
Yep. Yeah, exactly.
So where are you guys now? I mean, with focusing on specific markets, because I always find this interesting. If you're vertically integrated, you have your in-house management. How have you narrowed your focus on where you guys are buying properties?
Yeah. So I would say, so when we go into a new market, we're looking for at least 200 units in that market. And that allows us, again, to scale, and you establish that flagpole, right? And you want it to be in a market where there's other opportunities in that general area to be able to, again, capitalize on the scale of things. You're going to buy tools. You're going to buy, maybe vehicles. You're going to have team. Being able to shift those teams between the various different assets is something that we certainly pay attention to today. I would also say that, as we've gone through and scaled up these teams in different markets, we've started to realize that one of the mistakes that we made early on is we were looking wherever the opportunity might present itself, right? And trying to understand different markets, different submarkets, where this line is at, that line is at, it just gets to be too difficult. And again, it seems like the right way to do things, the right approach, but we've definitely scaled back, and now we focus on about 5-6 different cities, and we know those areas well, and we've been there many times. So that's really what we're trying to do is focus in on those specific areas.
Do you have money sitting in the stock market and you're worried about it? Or worse, you have money sitting at the bank, not keeping up with inflation? My name is Charles Carillo, founder and managing partner of Harborside Partners. And since 2006, I've been investing my money and my family's money into income-producing properties. These are real assets, real properties with real addresses that produce real cash flow. At Harborside Partners, we provide passive investors who love real estate with a turnkey investing solution. If you want to put your money to work in real estate but can't find deals, don't have the time to get funding, and the last thing that productive people want to do is manage real estate. We find the deals, we fund the deals, and we manage the tenants, the termites, and the properties. Partner with us at investwithharborside.com. That's investwithharborside.com. Go to investwithharborside.com. If you love real estate, you like the idea of passive income, and believe that income-producing properties will appreciate over time, go to investwithharborside.com. That's investwithharborside.com.
So when you were talking about with your first deal there, where you had an issue with the property management company, which is normal because if you're self-managing, I had a small portfolio, I was self-managing it, then I let a third-party manager in it, and that was kind of my feeling for the first 6 months. It worked out fine. It was a great manager. I got him from a recommendation. But the thing though is that it takes time for them to is there maybe you put in bad tenants or something like this, worse than what they would put in, and now you're going through and working that whole process out. Now, when you're dealing with management now and you guys are having it in-house, what benefits have you found other than the control, which is obvious? What other benefits would you say that you have, you and your investors have benefited from having that management in-house?
I would say, so property management is extremely difficult. It's, a really difficult job, and you really don't make all that terribly much money off of it, right? So it really is about controlling that asset and being able to control different situations. For instance, when we're going through and doing a refinance, we're able to really, we're able to contact the people that, are right on boots on the ground. And, if we need something, we need, this information or what have you. Again, through refinance, the lenders are even looking for updated numbers all of the time. So we're able to pull that or get that very, very quickly. So I would say that, just having access, having control over things is probably the only benefit to it. If that wasn't there, I don't know that we would necessarily do our own property management. Again, we're looking after our own assets. It certainly is not a business that is generating a lot of capital, a lot of income, and you have to do a tremendous amount of work in order to, um, keep the lights on and keep the wheels on the bus.
Yeah.
Right. So it is difficult. So
Yeah, with a couple groups that we work with that have in-house management, I mean, the fees are just really low too that they charge, which is great for everybody, except for,
Yep.
I mean, it's not a profit center, and they know that
Yep.
going in there. But the control is a huge thing, controlling asset, but also controlling expenses, and that's like one of the things I have so many problems with third-party management on is the expenses. And when they're not calling people that are on my list of who's call this person for electrician, call this person for this HVAC person. And, you get into these crazy situations where, hey, so this has to be right away. We have to do something. We're calling our person, blah, 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 and it's 3 times as much as your person. So those are things I always found with management companies. And, it is what it is. And their profit, I mean, their expenses can be all over, depending on how they fee. So people always bring it down to a percentage, right? But it's all these other fees too that you're paying on. When people talk to me about it, it's like, well, what are they charging for leasing? What are they charging you for renewals? All these different fees that get put into it. So you can't just go off of it's 3% or it's 8% or 10%. You know what I mean?
Yep. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. It is difficult to be able to, control all of that when it is, not really spelled out what the true costs are.
Right.
So, couldn't agree more.
So Matt, you're a serial entrepreneur. You guys have many different businesses, and how do you stay focused between these different businesses? And you have passive investors in some of your businesses with your real estate, and I imagine you have other investors in your other businesses, people to answer to. I mean, how do you stay focused and really divide up your day, I guess, to cover all the bases?
Yeah, so I would say that this goes back to meeting cadence and the teams that we have in place and how we communicate between those teams. All of the companies basically use Traction as kind of the core operating system, if you will, and really that really revolves around a number of key meetings that we have pretty well every day, and some certain meetings once a week. So we have the daily huddles where the various different teams all get together and everyone answers what they're doing today, what the goals are for today, and they also talk about what they accomplished yesterday as well. So if there's anything left over, or there's any help or anything like that that they might need, that's kind of covered in this 15-minute meeting in the morning. And again, I'm not participating in all of those. All the various teams are huddling together with their associated teams. Then once a week, we all come together again in the various different management realms. We have the L10 meeting. So if during one of the huddle meetings, a topic comes up and a longer discussion starts to happen, we say, wait a minute, stop, let's shelf that, and we'll bring that up during the L10 meeting as one of the topics. So again, that huddle, that daily huddle, is just a quick meeting, get everybody updated, make sure that everybody's on the same page, make sure that everybody knows what everybody else is doing, and that's really the purpose for that. But the L10 meeting is diving in deeper into issues, problems that might be there, and then you keep these on repeat over the week. So we have our to-do lists that we go over each week, and we try to, okay, we're going to set this as a topic that we want to get done by next week, and we can check this off, check this off, check this off. This is what was done last week. And then, so those are the to-dos. And then we also have issues that we go through and do the exact same thing on. So this is just a constant path of improvement that we're tracking and moving through and checking things off as we go. So that's the way that we organize things. And again, it's just a team effort to make sure that we're not forgetting things and we're not, sweeping things under the rug. And then we also have things, I'm not sure if you've ever heard of Cameron Harold. He has something that's called a vivid vision.
Oh, yes,
right?
yes.
So great way to be able to organize where you guys are going. I've tried to do the 10 and 20-year plans. In my opinion, you can't plan everything that's going to happen in that amount of time. There's going to be so many twists and turns that you're going to be way off course by the time you're 10 years in. But 3 years, you can create a plan that is going to get you there. So this vivid vision is really outlining, instead of backing up and talking about the steps, how we're going to get there. This is talking about what life looks like in 3 years, and you get everyone on your team to buy in and to also articulate how they're going to help you get to whatever that vision is. So that's, again, a way where we get the whole team moving in one direction, so that everybody understands these are the goals, these are the tasks, and this is where we want to go in 3 years from now. And we did this. We're coming up on about 3 years, so we'll be redoing this, retweaking this to create the next 3-year vision statement here very, very shortly. So all of those things are what I basically help put together and put into the various different teams to make sure that everybody's rowing the right direction, and there's an operating system to be able to handle the issues and the problems as they might come up.
That's great.
So,
yeah, that's a great answer. And for listeners, Matt mentioned Traction and Vivid Vision, which are books, and I'll put those links into the show notes there. So being around real estate investing for so many decades, I mean, what do you see? And being a value add operator, you see a lot of, let's say, mismanaged properties, right? What are some common mistakes you see real estate investors or entrepreneurs in general make?
Mm-hmm. I would say, and I go back to this. So I have my own podcast called Invest in Square Feet, and there's a reason for that. The idea of breaking things down to the square foot calculation is incredibly key when you are looking at comps and opportunities and whatnot. No matter if you're looking to acquire that property yourself, or you're looking to invest into that property as an LP, a limited partner, what have you. So one of the mistakes that I've seen people make is not check the rent rolls to validate that the square footage is correct on a per unit basis. Because what a lot of operators will do is they'll inflate their square footage calculation on their rent roll, so then it looks like the bill or the units are a lot larger than what they are. Then the operator or the potential operator, the person who's looking to acquire this property, they look around and say, oh, well, there's a 1,500 square foot unit down the road that's leasing for $1,500, and we're only at $900, so we've got a $600 delta there, right? Your units might not be as large as what that other one is down the road. So if you calculate that on a per square foot basis, your max rent is only going to be this price or this much, not all the way up to where everybody else is, right? So this is a problem that I see investors make a lot, where that is not validated, and you might think that you're investing in 200,000 square feet of apartments, and you might only be investing in 150,000 square feet of apartments total. So you can imagine what that does to your returns. And you have to consider this from a tenant's perspective. When they're going around and looking for their next home, they're picturing like, my bed is going to go here, my couch is going to go here, and the chest is going to go over here. They're picturing how all of this stuff is going to fit in there. So if you're trying to price yourself at a competitor's price and your unit is not as large, their stuff is not going to fit in your unit, even if, no matter how nice your unit might be, their stuff won't fit in there. So they're not going to lease. They're going to go down the road, to that. So validating and verifying the square footage of the various different unit types is incredibly, incredibly important, making sure that that rent roll reflects that, and the underwriting reflects that, and the OM reflects that. So to me, it all starts with, investing in square feet.
Yeah, that is great. That's the first time I've heard that on the show, but it is when I look at what I'm looking at a deal when I'm reviewing one initially. And then one of the first things I do is looking at square footage of the units, because you start getting older units, you can't add square footage. It's functional obsolescence. So it's something that you can't fix it. So it's something that you have to make sure if those units are too small, you're never going to get. It's like having central air versus window units. You're just never going to be able to get those rents past a certain level. So it's that's a great point. Thank you so much for bringing that up. So as we're kind of wrapping up here, what do you think are some of the main factors that have contributed to your success over the years between running a number of different businesses and investing in real estate?
I would say, I mentioned this earlier, finding people who have had the success that you're looking for, or have the success that you're looking for. I've unfortunately, again, you're always learning. I've unfortunately followed the path of some people that weren't as successful as what I thought they were, or I even knew that they weren't successful, but they had success at one point. So I was trying to follow their path. And you have to understand that there's always an outcome. The decisions that were made and the ways that things are, or the ways that they were evaluating things, is always going to lead to the same direction. Unless they've changed something about themselves, that path is going to lead to the same point. So for me, I always try to find people who are living the life in the field that I want, and try to learn from them, try to interact with them, get together with them, have masterminds with them. So it's learning from others, but being careful who you learn from, and make sure that that person is actually successful in whatever it is that you're looking for that success to be in.
Matt, more great information. So how can our listeners learn more about you and your businesses?
Yeah, I'd say just go and check out investinsquarefeet.com. There's information about me on there, and we've got some Facebook groups and all of that, but it's all right there. So,
all right. Well, thank you so much for coming on today, Matt, and looking forward to connecting with you here in the near future.
Charles, thank you.
Hi guys, it's Charles from the Global Investors Podcast. I hope you enjoyed the show. If you're interested in getting involved with real estate but you don't know where to begin, set up a free 30-minute strategy call with me at schedulecharles.com. That's schedulecharles.com. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Global Investor Podcast. If you like the show, be sure to subscribe on iTunes or Google Play to get new weekly episodes. For more resources and to receive our newsletter, please visit globalinvestorpodcast.com. And don't forget to join us next week for another episode.
Nothing in this episode should be considered specific, personal, or professional advice. Any investment opportunities mentioned on this podcast are limited to accredited investors. Any investments will only be made with proper disclosure, subscription documentation, and are subject to all applicable laws. Please consult an appropriate tax, legal, real estate, financial, or business professional for individualized advice. Opinions of guests are their own. Information is not guaranteed. All investment strategies have the potential for profit or loss. The host is operating on behalf of Syndication Superstars, LLC exclusively.